I'd describe it as another world. You haven't got the hustle and bustle of everyday life. You can come and go. I mean, more often than not, I come in here on the days that I come in, and I don't get anywhere because I see people, and it's, you know, you're talking, you're just full of everybody. You know, it's just a nice atmosphere. I think, nice place to be.
We're here to entertain our visitors but indulge our hobby. So for me, it's kind of this bubble that's separate from the rest of the world, where I can come and just enjoy myself and relax.
Where else in the country you're going to get 4 different railways? It's enjoyable. You're going to have an enjoyable day. You're not going to have a lousy day. Eh?
It's just that everyone just gets along with each other and tries to make everyone enjoy their days, and yeah, it's just, there is something special about the atmosphere here.
Bressingham's always had a special atmosphere, and as a volunteer I know exactly why I'm here. It's to try to keep Bressingham Steam Museum running for the future generations, because if people don't do that, these fabulous experiences will be lost forever.
There's a lot of people who've been here for a long time, and they wouldn't still be coming here if they didn't enjoy it. It's one of those places that when you walk through the gate, it's like stepping back in time. And the feeling that you get from that is that it's away from pressures of modern life.
For me, it's just lovely to almost kind of disappear into a different world for 8 or 9 hours. I don't have my phone on me, which in this day and age, you know, takes away a lot of stress.
The atmosphere at the museum is, even when it's raining, there is a joyful feeling about it. And I don't think I've ever gone home after a day's volunteering other than with a huge smile on my face, even when I'm soaking wet and it's at -3.
If you choose to volunteer some of your time at Bressingham, it can be for anything really. It can be for something that you have skills for already, or it can be something that you've never done before and we can show you or teach you or place you with a team that are restoring something. It could be looking after the gardens, it could be doing a bit of plumbing, electrical work, fence maintenance. It could just be guarding on the trains and meeting the public and speaking to them every time you're in. Or you may have a want to drive a steam train. Maybe you'd like an indoor job, maybe you'd like to be in the shop or on the tickets and still be part of the community on the retail side. So whatever type of person you are, there's a job here to suit you.
It is that variety. If you want to work with a group of people, there's plenty of jobs where you can kind of join a group that's doing something, or if there's a pet project that you've got that you want to tackle on your own, it's perfectly possible for that to be undertaken as well.
There's something here for everybody. It's a sort of toy box. I think when you retire, it's important to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning and maintain a sense of purpose in life. So it's quite rewarding, really, in its own way, to work as a volunteer, and that's one of the great things about this place. And certainly never get bored.
Everybody's different and there's different groups of people doing different things, and after a while it's human nature, you tend to align yourself with the people that you kind of get on with, have something in common with, share an interest with, and kind of achieve something, which is nice.
It's a bit like everything in life. There's only one way to find out if you'll enjoy it, and that's by doing and coming down and getting to know people, getting involved, just trying to help out and help create special memories for the next generation.
Come, that's all I would say. Do give it a try. Give time for things to settle a bit, find your feet, but you will be rewarded immensely.
Do it. That's what I'd say to them. Do it. Whatever time you've got to spare, these Bressingham will appreciate it, and they'll make the most of you and your talents, whether it be 1 day, 2 days, 1 a month, you know, even 1 every 2 months, whatever. They'll appreciate you coming and you'll make a difference. So that's the only thing I can say, is do it, because you'll enjoy it. like I do.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Share Volunteer Awards 2020, which this year comes to you over the internet. My name is Jamie Everett and I am the Share Programme Manager. We had planned this year's awards ceremony for the lovely surroundings of Bressingham Steam Museum and Gardens in Norfolk. Sadly, we can't come together in person this year, of course, so instead we're finding ourselves joining you together online. If you're able to join us just before 11, you will have seen the wonderful short film about volunteering at Bressingham, one of several on their website. Bressingham is one of the many museums in the region which rely heavily on the skills and enthusiasm of its volunteers to deliver a memorable and enjoyable experience for its visitors. It's difficult to overstate the importance of volunteering to museums in the east of England. We have a high proportion of entirely volunteer-run museums, probably more so than anywhere else in the country. And even those museums with paid professional staff rely heavily on their volunteers to deliver services, make their visitors happy and enjoy their visit. So we need to cherish and celebrate those who volunteer for us. The ethos of Share is a sharing of expertise, experience and time, which is of course exactly what volunteers do. And in the spirit of sharing, it is time to share back and celebrate those who support museums in this region. Everyone who's been nominated for these awards is a shining example of excellence in their volunteer role, and in a very real sense, we think of all nominees as winners. Now, Share is hosted by Norfolk Museum Service, and our main funders are Arts Council England. We are very grateful to the Arts Council for their investment into museums in the region. So to welcome you formally to this year's Volunteer Awards, I'm going to hand over to Liam Wiseman, Museums Relationship Manager at the Arts Council's East of England office.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I'm really happy to be able to help bring this event to you all, albeit in a different format than usual. The value of volunteers for the museum sector is immeasurable. What you all do helps to keep the wheels of the sector turning, and it really couldn't be done without you. As the sector body for arts and culture, Arts Council England are passionate about providing funding, events and opportunities for museums and their volunteers through museum development programmes such as Share Museum East, and supporting museums in the area to achieve their aims. And since we support museums, it's only right that we also celebrate and acknowledge the fantastic achievements of the volunteers who make the sector a vibrant, exciting and welcoming place. Now, I could go on all day about the brilliance of museum volunteers, but I'll hold myself back this time and let Jamie introduce our fabulous judges. Over to you, Jamie.
Thank you, Liam. And so to the moment you've all been waiting for, the awards ceremony itself. Our judges this year have themselves all volunteered for the role. Indeed, two of them are museum judges and previous awards winners. Please allow me to introduce our Chair of Judges, Sarah Lloyd, Professor of History at the University of Hertfordshire.
Thank you, Jamie. This year we've got 5 categories, and in each one we've selected an individual award and a team award. Being a judge for the Share Volunteer Awards is a heartening experience. We discover so many inspiring lives and hear so many examples of dedication and ingenuity. That makes judging a challenging experience too. So I'd like to introduce this year's judging team of 5. In addition to myself, we have Robin Llewellyn of the National Lottery Heritage Fund. She's Head of Engagement for Midlands and East. We have Nikki Hughes, who's Chair of the Share Volunteer Coordinators Forum. John McKee is from Braintree and District Museum, and he was winner of the 2018 Trustee Award. And Natasha Harlock from Norfolk and Suffolk Aviation Museum and winner of the 2018 Young Volunteer Award. I'd now like to hand over to Nikki Hughes, who's going to introduce the winners of the True Grit Award.
Many of the tasks required to run our museums are not glamorous. They're often difficult, awkward, tedious or challenging, long and hard. The True Grit Award is for those who have battled against difficulties with those often thankless roles that are so essential for museums. Tasks include the arduous documentation projects, hard physical work, or even dirty, unappealing jobs that need very specific skills to put the struggles aside and to just get on with it. The individual award goes to a volunteer who's been working hard for the past 3 years, ensuring the safety and longevity of the collections across a 60-acre site. Richard Rackstraw endlessly oversees pest management system at Creston Hall Farm and Workhouse, checking to ensure the artefacts are safe, often hunting to find the pest traps that have been moved by visitors. They are fascinating to look at. If an issue is identified, Richard works swiftly to isolate the object, wrap it and freeze it before damage can occur. Many of the buildings are open to the elements, so it's a constant battle to ensure the longevity of this dearly loved collection. The team who win the True Grit Award have a key part in their museum running, or should we say, keeping the wheels turning. The physical hard work undertaken by the mill maintenance team at Burwell Museum and Windmill keeps this 200-year-old mill operating. It's truly inspirational. As a much cherished element of this popular museum, the windmill never ceases to amaze or delight the public. The team has worked through challenges, often uncovering more problems as they work, but the team has worked hard together to overcome issues, showing tenacity and teamwork. Let us all hope that they can get back together in the mill to celebrate its 200th birthday later this year.
Thank you, Nikki. And so to the Through the Door Award. To announce this, please welcome the presenter of our 2018 Volunteer Awards, Robin Llewellyn, Head of Engagement, Midlands and East England at the National Lottery Heritage Fund.
The Through the Door Award is for people and teams who have made the museum relevant for a new group of people. So the judges were delighted and unanimous in recognising the great work of the Bridging Binaries team at Cambridge University Museums. The project was groundbreaking and an exemplar. The 18-strong team of volunteers delivered 45 tours across 8 locations focused on LGBTQ+ narratives and included the history of art, science, the natural and classical worlds across places and cultures, as well as commentary on contemporary LGBTQ+ lives. And the tours not only brought in a new audience, but also helped precipitate discussions across the museums about changing permanent displays to include LGBTQ+ narratives. As the nominee explained, these stories are not very evident in permanent displays, but are an important part of our shared history of humanity. Telling them is important, and the aim is to signal to LGBTQ+ communities that they are welcomed and celebrated in our museums. The volunteer-run Lowestoft Maritime Museum is dedicated to local and national maritime history, and that's where Colin Brown, the individual winner, comes from. After volunteering as a front-of-house steward and some time off due to ill health, Colin was persuaded to take part in an intergenerational project aiming to make improvements that would attract more visits from families. Colin set to work helping to revise and refresh the offer, and with his welcoming approach to young visitors and signposting to children's activities, ensured family visitors enjoyed a positive experience. And the contribution led to a 21% increase in young visitors last season. Impressively, Colin's positive attitude encouraged other volunteers to engage in the family-centered approach, and he guided for the team into leading family craft activities. And it's really wonderful that he's now a committee member, continuing to advocate on behalf of the family-friendly initiative.
Thank you, Robin. Now to the Outstanding Young Volunteer Award, which this year is being presented by an outstanding young volunteer, Natasha Harlock of the Norfolk and Suffolk Aviation Museum, who was the 2018 Outstanding Young Volunteer Award winner. Over to you, Natasha.
The role of the young volunteer can vary considerably based on the museum and the dedication of the young volunteer themselves. There are a huge number of people involved in supporting the young volunteer. from the other members of the museum being mentors to their friends and family for usually driving them there and picking them up whilst actively supporting them. In many cases, when the young volunteer starts at a museum, it's because of their interests, but over the months they put into their time and dedication whilst working on other things such as school, college and university. They come away from the museum with a passion, a sense of pride in what they do, who they are helping along the way, and who they've become as a person. The individual outstanding young volunteer goes to someone who has spent a year at their museum. However, in this year, they have done an incredible amount of work, from turning an existing display into a fun haunted house, to recreate this own exhibits, to help schools and young children learn in a fun and interesting way. They are trusted within the museum to lead projects and have become an example to other volunteers. The winner of the Outstanding Young Volunteer goes to Stevie Louise Legg from the British Schools Museum. The Team Award for Outstanding Young Volunteer goes to a pair who have worked extremely hard on an exhibit about anti-slavery. Together they have researched a range of things such as objects, images, and have developed text to help raise awareness of the history of slavery and how there is still slavery today in several industries, bringing this subject that is not talked about enough into the light of day. This has brought many people into the museum through local newspapers doing articles and people around the world becoming interested and aware of it through social media. The award goes to the exhibit team from Wisbeach and Finland Museum.
Thank you, Natasha. Trustees are a key asset in the governance and direction setting of any museum. They raise funds, ensure the organisation is sustainable, and make sure it remains relevant and an important part of the community they serve. John McKee is one such trustee at Braintree Museum. He was the winner of our 2018 Trustee Award and will now present the 2020 Trustee Awards.
Thank you, Jamie. Christa Woodward from the Museum of Garden History in London said, "You have to have trustees who accept that they will be required to cash in their personal relationships on behalf of their museum. Capitalising on their connections, trustees can be powerful advocates for their museums." The individual award goes to Nick Skinner, Chairman of Brightlingsea Museum. When he was appointed Treasurer in 2012, the museum was renting premises with severely limited facilities and access and operating on an exceedingly small budget. Nick has steered the governing body to consider the museum's future and deliver a museum showcasing the town's maritime heritage, appeal to all in the community, and become a major visitor attraction with benefits for the local community. Enabled by a significant bequest, which some found this an overwhelming proposition, it was Nick's vision and skills that brought this extensive redevelopment project in a new building to fruition. He led the project with fairness, understanding, and humour, giving thanks and praise where due, leading to a much stronger team. Regularly pursuing funding sources with considerable success, the museum has been successful when making a second and even third applications for funds. Nick has displayed all the key attributes of trusteeship. The Team Award goes to the Board of Trustees at the Cromwell Museum in Huntingdon. Until 2014, a small local authority-run museum, now it is managed by a newly created independent charity, the Cromwell Trust. The trustees have worked tirelessly to provide a strategic direction while supporting the day-to-day running of the museum, which has changed beyond all recognition over the last 5 years. They have created links with the strategic bodies, raised funds, and personally supported projects and purchases of objects. The result of their efforts has increased the prestige of the museum once on the verge of closure. The museum now has a robust organisation and can look forward to the future with confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We now return to our Chair of Judges, Sarah Lloyd, who will present the Digital Award.
Digital volunteering can take many forms, from keeping a website up to date and maintaining a presence on social media to advocacy for digital opportunities. Work could involve many hours devoted to scanning documents for a digital museum project, or learning new skills to address unfamiliar technologies. Tasks may be tedious, requiring patience and persistence. They may also take creativity, flair, and imagination. Whatever the form that digital volunteering takes, it is essential to cultural life and storytelling in the 21st century. Digitised materials make collections accessible. Online collections empower people to explore the past and their own place within it. These are the volunteers who enable museums to reach out locally and globally. The individual award goes to a volunteer who has put an incredible amount of work into his museum website, doing the essential maintenance work of data cleansing, which keeps information accurate, and bringing more of the collection online. Phil Jackson from Imperial War Museum, Duxford, has made over 10,000 contributions to the American Air Museum website, more than his line managers' combined efforts, and worked with thousands of photographs. His research has been used by the descendants of Second World War veterans in the USA, finding their family histories. Phil's work has enriched knowledge and helped people across the world find their own story of belonging. The Team Award for Digital Volunteering goes to the Gordon Craig volunteer team from Stevenage Museum. This group started from scratch with a new website. Many of them had no previous experience of cataloguing. 6 months later, they had made thousands of database entries and created a publicly accessible record of nearly all performances at the theatre. Team confidence has soared, encouraging the volunteers to assist with oral history interviewing and to help one another in solving problems. The volunteers have made a huge difference in preserving the archive and in sparking the memories that make a collection come alive. So congratulations both to the Gordon Craig volunteer team from Stevenage Museum and to Phil Jackson from Imperial War Museum, Duxford. I'd now like to hand back to Nikki Hughes to tell us about the Judges' Special Award.
Being a judge on the Share Museums East Volunteer Awards is an enjoyable but difficult role. Each time the awards take place, the judges are overwhelmed by the passion of those nominated. The words of those that are doing the nominating shows to us how they feel about their volunteers, which is really very heartwarming. We wish we could give everyone an award, and we do think that simply by nominating individuals and teams should be celebrated in itself, which is why we would normally have a lovely ceremony organised by the Share team. Things are a bit different this year. Not wrong, just a bit different. We also get to give out a Judges' Special Award. This is an award that isn't listed in the nomination form, but something that we can award if we feel somebody doesn't quite fit into the other categories, but should still be recognised. This year, we want to give the Judges' Special Award to a volunteer who takes the complicated and difficult task of being a volunteer coordinator. They have transformed the volunteer recruitment and coordination at their museum, which has resulted in the museum receiving the Queen's Award for Volunteering in 2019. This volunteer is Anne Barrett at Stow-Mary's Great War Aerodrome. Since taking this role in 2016, Anne has built the team from less than 30 to 160. She has taken on recruitment, induction, training, safeguarding and social media, to name but a few tasks. Anne's hard work makes her a cornerstone of the museum. Her positivity and energy mean that other volunteers are empowered by her. Well done, Anne.
And so to our final award, the Silver Owl Awards. The Silver Owls are a new award and go to every nominee who has volunteered for their museum for 25 years or more. To announce the Silver Owls, please welcome once again our Chair of Judges, Sarah Lloyd.
The Silver Owl Award recognises those who have volunteered at their museums for at least 25 years. But that matter-of-fact description doesn't really capture what the nominators told us about your loyalty, generosity and skill, about your contribution as friends and colleagues, and the respect and affection in which you are held. In this group, we have volunteers who have spent twice times 25 years, who have given their own collections and founded museums, in one case, literally building it. Volunteers who have kept their organisations going in practical ways, adapting with circumstances, turning their hand as required to cleaning, welcoming visitors and serving as a trustee. Here are the women and men whose personal qualities are legion: determination, passion, enthusiasm, common sense and imagination. We celebrate here their hard work, experience and above all their commitment. Entries came from all over the region, from museums large and small. Here are the recipients of the 2020 Silver Owl Award. From Bedfordshire, Jean Goldsmith from John Bunyan Museum. Kathy Morehouse and Marion Harrington from the Higgins. From Cambridgeshire, we have Dorothy Halfhide from Thorney Heritage Museum. Mike Rouse from Ely Museum. Madeline Johnson from Wisbeach and Fenland Museum. Paul Hawes and John Wisby from Burwell Museum and Windmill. And Ken Harvey from Sedgwick Museum of Earth Science. From Essex, we have Jenny Day from Saffron Walden Museum and Alan Walker from the Museum of Power. From Norfolk, Derek Jennings from Fakenham Museum of Gas and Local History. Jill Frid and Graham Frid from Felbrigg Hall. Derek Manning from Gresson Hall Farm and Workhouse. Tony Tompkins and Jane Francis from Fawncett Industrial Steam Museum, and Peter Vine from Bressingham Steam Museum. From Suffolk, we have Bob Markham from Colchester and Ipswich Museum Service. Ken May and the Earl of Cranbrook from the Longshot Museum. Irene Ashman, Ron Ashman and Paul Durbridge from Lowestoft Museum. Ivan Last from Norfolk and Suffolk Aviation Museum. Elaine Nason from Laxfield and District Museum. And Brian Holmes from Halesworth and District Museum.
Well, that was incredible. I'm amazed by how many fantastic winners and nominees we've had today. I'd like to say a big thank you to all who participated and are helping to keep our sector going through this difficult time. I'm sure you're aware, but moving forwards, we'll all need to respond to new challenges, scenarios and opportunities. But after seeing the calibre of people involved in today's event, I'm certain that the sector is only going to continue to grow in scale and ambition. Museums simply couldn't function without the tireless effort, care and attention of volunteers. And so once again, on behalf of Arts Council England and myself, a passionate museum goer, I'd like to say thank you and congratulations to all who are involved. And a big thank you to all at Share who helped to organise such a brilliant event.
Thank you, Liam. And now to make the closing address, I'm going to hand over to the Director of Cultural and Heritage at Norfolk County Council, Steve Miller.
Thank you, Jamie. And that brings us to the end of this year's Volunteer Awards. Firstly, my sincere thanks to Jamie for carrying us through this year's Inspirational Awards so brilliantly. And on behalf of the Share Museums East team, please may I say a heartfelt thank you to everyone who has contributed to this event. To our panel of independent judges, Sarah, Robin, Natasha, John and Nikki. To Liam and all our colleagues at Arts Council England for their incredible ongoing support. To Bressingham Steam Museum. To everyone who nominated their volunteers. And last but of course not least, to every vital volunteer in our wonderful region. Every one of you is a winner and you all have our sincere thanks for all that you do. So thank you one and all, and we look forward very much to seeing you again in 2 years' time. And before you leave us, we have just one more thing to say, and our grateful thanks to David Burgess for helping us to say it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me. It sounds a bit bizarre, but things the way they are. I feel as if another life's begun for me. And if I had a